Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining today. Unlike other week, today we will not have any immigration question answer. Today we will have a special session on juvenile law and how that is connected with immigration law, especially how that impacts immigrants' life. Today we have a very special guest. Her name is Marilyn Pierre. She has been attorney for almost 30 years. She ran for judge a couple times. She is licensed in Maryland, DC, New York, Pennsylvania, and many other states. She is the number one experienced person in juvenile law, abuse, delinquency, and other issues. And it has a lot of connection with immigration law. So let's invite Attorney Marilyn Pierre in our show.
Thank you very much, Raju, for your generous introduction. Thank you so much. I hope to live up to that billing.
No problem. And we are very happy, very excited to have you in our show. And thank you for joining in this Sunday morning. I know, Sunday everybody has their own schedule, but thank you for joining. So, most of the audience in our show, they're immigrant. They do not have a very good idea about American laws. So, most of them have idea about immigration law. But when they become immigrant, they also face like other issues. So, can you please tell us what is juvenile law and how that impacts immigrant life?
Well, I have to tell you that a lot of lawyers don't know that much about juvenile law because it's a very distinct specialty, if you could call it that, although we're not allowed to call it that, but it is. And what I mean by that is one of those issues that could come into your life at any time if you have children, but most people don't know about it. So it becomes a big surprise when they find themselves involved in it. What I mean by that is, for instance, because immigrants are have cultural differences in terms of the upbringing of their children. Some of these cultural differences could be seen as abuse or neglect in this country. And if someone accuses anyone of abuse and neglect in this country, it has to be investigated by social workers. And the social workers then, after investigating, they then decide what to do next. Sometimes they find that the complaint is unfounded. So if the complaint is unfounded, the allegations were proven to be false, then whew, that's good. But even if you think that the complaints are going to be unfounded, it's really important not to go in there without an attorney, because these are trained professionals and there's you. And like I said, it's really, really something that you usually don't think about, because you say, oh, well, I love my children. I'm bringing up my children. Oh, see, that's what I mean. I love my children. I'm bringing up my children as best as I can. And I would never do anything to hurt them. I am going to say that to the
You please
social.
keep talking. I'll be back within like 5 seconds, fixing my daughter's iPad.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah. So, yeah, you could say, I love my children. I would never hurt my children. I tell that to the social worker. I feed my children. I house my children. I clothe them. I help them with their homework. The social worker could just see that. But like I said, because many times there are cultural differences, and because you don't know exactly what it is that the social worker is looking for, it makes sense to have somebody who knows something about the system to accompany you. And and many times it should be a lawyer rather than a friend that you trust. And I
Thank you
know it
for
costs, but it is well worth it.
Thank you for bringing the topic that a lot of things is very normal in another country, but it is a criminal act in America. Let me tell you from my experience. When I was in middle school, high school, my parents and many of our friends' parents, they used to beat us if we don't study, like literally physically beat us. And that is a very normal thing. Nobody will raise a single question because yes, parents should teach their kids, what to do. And but physical beating is 100% prohibited in America. So a lot of parents, when they come to America as a immigrant, they don't have any idea what is the difference between legal structure and social structure. So they face a lot of challenges. So in any kind of situation, I tell my clients and other people who are immigrants, like, hey, this is not just immigration law. When you enter America, you have to abide by the entire legal system, whether you know it or not. Just because you don't know something, that's not a defense. So that's why I advise them to, watch, go to different events, learn about American law, watch different TV shows, and other thing, Law and Order kind of. I know those are not like perfect, but at least they get like idea like how to deal with. Yeah. So can you please tell us like what are the very common issues immigrant childs and immigrant families they face in terms of like juvenile law abuse and delinquency?
Well, many times what happens is that the cases come into court through the school system. The children go to school, they say something like, well, my parent didn't like the grade that I received, so I was beaten. And that word has special meaning in this law because there's a difference between physical discipline, which is allowed in some states. Some states don't allow it at all, but some states do allow physical discipline, and beating. A beating is always something that is considered abusive, and physical discipline may or may not be considered a beating, and may or may not be considered abuse. And that's why it's important to have someone there with you who knows exactly why. Because what happens is that if the allegations are going to go forward, then you might be involved in the court system. But before involvement in the court system, sometimes you are allowed to work with the Department of Social Services or the Department of Health and Human Services in some areas in order to learn proper ways of disciplining or managing your child. If you're working within the system, that's good on the one hand because it's not going to go to court. On the other hand, it can affect your immigration status because it's something that, even though it's confidential, it's something that you may have to report if you're applying, for instance, to become a citizen, or if you're applying to get your green card or something of that sort. So it's really important to stay clear of that system if at all possible.
Thank you. By the way, I want to remind my audience one thing, like juvenile law and all this entire criminal justice system is very state specific. Every state has their own law. It's not like immigration, like, it's not a federal law. So Maryland is licensed in Washington, D.C., Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York, and probably many other states. I cannot remember. She's licensed in many places. Also, a lot of federal courts. So if you need any help about family law issues, criminal defense and juvenile law, anything, especially in Maryland. Her office is in Rockville. Please contact her directly. She is the number one in this field. She will be able to help you. So, Maryland, can you please tell us, what are the like a specific thing in Maryland that is different in other states in terms of juvenile law and criminal justice system? Kind of.
Well, this is so specific that it actually differs from county to county and Maryland. So you have different counties doing different things. For instance, I know in some counties they might consider this to be as like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. Whereas in other counties it might be, oh, okay, this happens, let's do this about it. I'll give you an example. An example is that, for instance, in Prince George's County, there used to be what's called baby drug days, where it sounds kind of morbid. It actually is kind of difficult to have to deal with. Baby Drug Days was actually an interesting program that they had in Prince George's County, and I wish that they would adopt it to the rest of the counties because I thought that it was very humane. What happened in Baby Drug Day is that if a woman gave birth to a child and the child tested positive for drugs, and let's stop there for just 1 second, because I am told that certain people uh, are given drug tests, and only certain people's babies are given drug tests at the hospital. So that might be a cultural issue as well. So, for instance, someone might be acting in a way that might be perceived as being different, and so because of that, it might be cultural different. There might be cultural differences, but because of that, somebody who is not used to that on the hospital staff might think that this is actually related to someone being under the influence of something. Okay, so therefore, if the tests come back saying that either the mother or the baby is positive, If you live in Prince George's County, you got referred to what's called baby drug days, which means that you got referred to court on a special day where you show up to court and your baby is not taken away. You're given an opportunity to show that you're not a habitual user, or you have the ability to take care of your child in your house while you work on whatever substance use issue that you have. The reason why I consider it more humane, because it allows the mother and the child and the father to bond because the child is in the household. Many counties don't do that. They just remove the child and place the child in foster care, which means that now the parents are only allowed to see the child maybe 1 or 2 hours a week. And you know how difficult it is to bond when you only get to see your child 1 to 2 hours a week with strangers in an environment that's not even your house.
Exactly, and especially a newborn child. Oh my God, I cannot even imagine, like, my newborn child being taken to foster care, and I'm able to see only 2 hours a week. That's very,
Mhm.
very hostile to to the parenthood.
Yes. Well, not only 2 hours a week, but 2 hours a week with someone else in the room. So you're not even, and sometimes the person who is in the room has issues with you, the way you're holding the baby, the way why are you holding the baby so much? Why are you cuddling the baby? Why? There's so many different issues. This is not a pleasant system to be involved in at all. And like I said, if you could avoid it, please do so. And sometimes you could avoid it by talking to other parents. What should we do? What does this mean? And uh, in befriending your children's teachers, so that way they understand that you come from a different culture and you may not understand what to do in certain situations, but it does not mean that you don't love your children and you're not abusing and you're not abusing and neglecting them just because it's things are a little bit different than they expect.
Yes, yes, yeah, and a lot of immigrant family, they move to America when their children is like a teenage, like 12 years old to like 16 years old kind of, and if they commit any crime, like those children, if they commit any crime, what are the available resources that immigrant parents they can seek, like either free or very low cost, and if there is any training program or any free learning process, especially in Rockville or in a PG County area, like in a Montgomery County or PG County area or Baltimore. Uh, can you share with us?
Yes, if your child is involved in the juvenile delinquency system, that's still juvenile law, but it's a delinquency system. The delinquency system means that if this child was an adult, this child would actually be charged with a crime. But because this child is under 18 years old, the child, at the time that the alleged offense occurred, the child is being charged as a delinquent. Although a child could also be charged as an adult, but we're not going to address that for now. If a child is involved in the delinquency system, the Office of the Public Defender in Maryland can represent that child or have another attorney represent that child if that office has a conflict. If the parents qualify financially, if the parents don't qualify financially, then they have to have a lawyer for that child. The court will not allow the child to go forward without the child's case to go forward without a lawyer.
Okay. Yeah, those are very like last night I was watching some videos in YouTube about like I saw a TED talk about juvenile law, and we are happy that right now it's better than before, but like a long time ago it was like very worse, and there is no representation for the kids, and a lot of kids they have been treated like a adult person, and they have been even sentenced to death. Like that's very inhuman. What is the highest sentence in Maryland for child committing crime?
The Supreme Court, I forgot the name of, I want to say Miller versus Alabama. That's what I want to say is the case where it says where juveniles were being sentenced to court. I'm sorry, sentenced to life sentences, to life imprisonment. And it was determined by the Supreme Court a couple of years ago that there needs to be some sort of way for the juvenile to say, look, my brain is fully formed now. I know I made a mistake, but I'm not a danger to society anymore. Please let me out so that way I could live a, well, hopefully the rest of my life without being behind bars.
Yeah. So that's the thing. Like a lot of time, Supreme Court come up with some rule that it is positive for the system. Sometimes it's like not very very good. Like recent Roe versus Wade kind of situation. So it changes time to time, and sometimes parents has no idea what is. You said Miller versus Alabama. A lot of parents has no idea what is that and what is the ruling. So they have no idea. So yeah, so the entire point of our discussion was just information for our clients, prospective clients, if they need any help, our audience. So do you have any last anything to say to them?
Yes, like I said, I think it's really, really important. I think it's very important to speak with people from, well, who grew up with the same theory on raising children that you do, and see what their experiences are, so that way they could help you navigate some of the pitfalls, and to make sure that you're not falling into the system inadvertently. It's very, very important to keep out of the system if you possibly can, because it once you get involved in that, it makes it very difficult to do the other things. Because if you have a history of abusing or neglecting your children, it's very difficult to get some jobs. It's very difficult to go on with the immigration process sometimes, because you are you have been deemed by a court to have done something that is considered very wrong. So it's really, really important to get yourself the legal help that you need if you are involved. But if you can avoid it to begin with, talk to other parents, talk to the community members, to see what it is that is expected. And we know that you love your children. We know that you don't want to hurt them. But like I said, sometimes things could be misinterpreted so easily just because of cultural differences.
Yes, and one thing I would like to add, a lot of misinformation has been spreaded by the community member, and their intention is not bad. Their intention is good, but let's say something happened to one person, and they think, okay, this is standard. This is not a standard. This is a special situation for one person, and that thing has been spreaded to the entire community, and they have no idea that this is a special situation. This is not like a regular standard. So I request all the people who are immigrant to America, especially those who have children, please reach out to people who are informed about the current law, about the current system. And if you have any issue at all, please do not wait. Contact with the attorney, because you may do like a minor mistake, but that may impact your immigration status forever. You may barred from being permanent resident or being citizen. So even though a lot of time you think, oh, this is a minor issue, it's just between me and my children. No, it's not between you and your children. It's between you and the state. So please take it seriously. And if you need any help about juvenile law and family law and criminal defense, please reach out to me. Thank you very much, Marilyn, for joining with us. We'll definitely talk more another day about other topics related to juvenile law and immigration. I hope you have a wonderful rest of the day.
Thank you so much, Raju. It was a pleasure. I hope that I was able to help someone out there. And if anybody contacts you with any questions, please let me know. I'd be more than happy to help them.
Perfect. You. I'll just forward the question to you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure. Bye.
Bye. Have a good day.
Thank you too.
আপনি কি গ্রিন কার্ড বা সিটিজেনশিপের জন্য আবেদন করতে চান, কিংবা পরিবারের সদস্যদের আমেরিকায় আনতে পরামর্শের জন্য বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ল ফার্ম? আপনি কি গ্রিন কার্ড বা সিটিজেনশিপের জন্য আবেদন আপনি কি গ্রিন কার্ড বা সিটিজেনশিপের জন্য আবেদন করতে চান, কিংবা পরিবারের সদস্যদের আমেরিকায় আনতে পরামর্শের জন্য বিশ্বাসযোগ্য ল ফার্ম খুঁজছেন? ইমিগ্রেশন বিষয়ক সব ধরনের সহযোগিতার জন্য আপনার পাশে রয়েছে অ্যাটর্নি রাজু মহাজন অ্যান্ড অ্যাসোসিয়েটস। এমপ্লয়মেন্ট বেসড, ফ্যামিলি বেসড, গ্রিন কার্ড, অ্যাজাইলাম সহ ইমিগ্রেশন বিষয়ক সকল ক্যাটাগরিতে আমাদের অভিজ্ঞ অ্যাটর্নিদের রয়েছে দীর্ঘদিনের অভিজ্ঞতা। আমাদের ল ফার্মে আছেন অ্যাটর্নি রাজু মহাজন, যিনি একই সাথে ইংরেজি এবং বাংলা ভাষায় পারদর্শী। এছাড়াও আছেন অ্যাটর্নি হাসান এল শৌরি, যিনি একই সাথে ইংরেজি এবং আরবি ভাষায় পারদর্শী। এখন পর্যন্ত আমাদের সাকসেস রেট 100%। আমাদের সকল কার্যক্রম পরিচালিত হয় অনলাইনে, ফলে পৃথিবীর যে কোনো প্রান্ত থেকে ঘরে বসেই আপনি সেবা নিতে পারেন দ্রুততম সময়ে। আমাদের ওয়েবসাইটে গিয়ে অ্যাপয়েন্টমেন্ট ঠিক করে আপনার কেস নিয়ে সরাসরি ফ্রিতে কথা বলুন আমাদের অ্যাটর্নির সাথে। এছাড়াও ফ্রিতে NIW ইভালুয়েশন করাতে পারেন আমাদের ওয়েবসাইট থেকে। বিস্তারিত জানতে ভিজিট করুন www.rajulaw.com। ইমেল করতে পারেন info@rajulaw.com এই ঠিকানায়, অথবা ফোন করুন